And we were talking about just a few minutes ago, Chernobyl is acting up again.
It's disastrous, man. I mean, it's leaking, and it's like, my God, it's huge. It's a huge problem. So it never goes away, apparently. I mean,
No,
this era was not about the peaceful use of atomic energy. It was about the enemy use of atomic energy, the paranoia that existed. And I think I mentioned it last week, where I had met an artist when Jean was in the hospital for her cancer, and he was there with his wife, and he was from Russia, my age. We were about like a few months apart, and he said he grew up with the same paranoia that they were waiting in Russia for the propaganda was that any minute the U.S. was going to drop a bomb on them. And of course, we live with here in the States with the propaganda that any moment the Russians are going to drop a bomb on us.
yeah,
And
and
you know,
now that has spread to the North Koreans or the Iranians
yeah,
or
it,
whoever else is developing the technology. Uh,
yeah, it's what do you? Here we are, and
who is the guy, the main guy? Can't remember if we talked about this last week. The main guy responsible for the development of the bomb,
Oppenheim,
and when he saw it explode, like his quote was, "I have become death."
yeah, yeah, Oppenheimer, right?
Yep, Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it's like, and the fact that they tested it not knowing that it could set off a chain reaction, and it would bring an end to the planet, and still they tested it. But of course, we
Yep,
all know that Hitler was underway, the Nazis are underway with their bomb, and it's that whole boy.
it's 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 amazing to me that the ego of man knows no bounds. Developing a weapon that would destroy all life as we know it, and yet no one has the rational sense to say, you know what, we should just all stop.
We are
Just
still those apes in 2001 around the water hole,
yeah,
right? You remember that whole
yep,
sequence where Kubrick and Clark started with, they meet at the one tribe goes and they're at the water hole, then the next tribe comes in, they're ooh, 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 at each other, threatening each other, gradually building towards fighting, and then using a bone as a weapon.
yep,
Boom! The discovery of, and then the ape man throws the bone in the air, and it's spinning, spinning, and spinning, and it becomes quick, fast cut to a global, an atomic bomb circling the Earth. That's what that device was. It's
yep,
not stated in the film overtly, but that's the intention. That
yep.
is, so Kubrick and Clark tell the history of the human race in a single cut, from a bone weapon to an atomic weapon.
Yep,
Basically, in a sense, that's it. We're still that primitive animal, hating,
yeah.
fearing, prejudice, hating the unknown, fearful of the unknown, and all those who use that, the demagogues and politicians and others.
It's a, in my opinion, it's a good way to stay in power when you. I think we've come to figure out that keeping people in fear, like fear of you as the authority, doesn't necessarily work all that well because that ultimately creates a rebellion.
Yeah,
But if we can create a universal fear of something else, we can
the
keep everybody unified and under there and keep them
well,
down.
the
And we're
the,
the
the
only ones that can protect you.
those seeking power in that sense always have to have an enemy at the gate. They will
Yeah.
create an enemy at the gate if there is none.
Yep.
Because
Yeah.
I'm here to protect you from the enemy at the gate. I'm your
Yep.
savior. You're the victim, and there's the bad guy. That eternal triangle,
Yeah.
right?
Always in like every walk of life that exists.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's you
And
know.
but still, here's atomic energy. It's like we have developed technologically, you know, very to a great degree. Well, I don't know how great the degree is though, because we don't know what technology they have on other planets in the universe.
Yeah.
We could be still ants to them. Just
Yeah. We could either be the first
yeah,
or really far behind.
way behind.
Yeah.
Well,
Way,
with that
way,
opening
way,
line
way.
in the War of the Worlds, right? Uh, Early days of the 20th century, we were being watched closely by intelligences greater than man, and yet as mortal as our own. Intellects vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded our Earth with envious eyes. To them, we were insects in that
Yep.
concept, right? Anyway, whatever. It's all pretty crazy, and here we are in the middle of it. We always think that we're in some way at the end of something, or you and me and everybody in the present moment are the apex of something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because of our consciousness, and that's all we know. But we think this is the high point or something. They don't see the
And
past, they don't see the future. It's like we, in some way, this is what it's all about.
it's the culmination of everything. It's I think, what is that? Maybe the id, the id that gets in the way of, you know,
Yep, right.
being, we, I am the most important. My ego is the most important, and
Yeah.
we are it. But
Yeah,
uh,
and and in this kind of thing, you think about it as you do this kind of artwork. It's sort of there in the background. This conscious, subconscious, this stuff comes out. And that's what's
and
interesting to me about doing these kinds of images. You know.
yeah, and I mean, it's remarkable that you're doing that kid stuff series all based on you know toys from your youth and your childhood,
Yeah.
and that affected your thinking, your life in one way or another. With this again, the atomic age and what you were going through at that time. World War II was kicking off when you were born,
Yeah.
and yet the same exact thing happened. In my childhood, I'm from the late '70s and the '80s.
Yep.
You know, with the Cold War going on with Russia and all that, and now generations got it going on.
Again,
It's been
they
going for
all.
a
I
long
I,
time.
I can't remember. I was listening to NPR once in the studio, in another studio that I had. It were tapes. I forgot what the hell it was again. It was Nixon and Kissinger with Chairman Mao. They were meeting, and they were all joking and laughing with one another. These bastards who created furthered this whole horror and fear and anxiety and God knows how much death and destruction. We're all
Yeah.
joking with each other. It's like, oh, we
Well,
have this whole game. We've got you be the bad guy. I'll be this way. You be this way.
yep. I mean, even within our own country, the people at the top that supposedly hate each other, there are photos of all of them out eating and laughing and joking.
It's a whole routine to keep in power and to keep the whole thing going. I mean,
Well,
my God, we have to jump. They have to.
yeah, I mean, we're going off on a different kind of chat, but
That's all
you
right.
know,
So again,
um,
this stuff generates that. I think, kind of.
yeah, I do, because that represents all of the stuff that people beyond our control are doing that can drastically alter all of our lives,
Yep.
and we have no control over it whatsoever.
And
None.
look at the other aspect of this whole thing that we're talking about. Kind of is, what is this? This is a toy meant for children. What is it?
Yeah.
An atomic disintegrator. Zap! You're disintegrated. Zap! It's like and I've been playing those games. Bang bang, you're dead. The whole thing with 6 shooters and everything. You
Yeah.
play at that kind of thing. It's like very. Uh, Come on, reams have been written about it, and sociologists and psychiatrists and religionists have written about this stuff for many years. And but it's here we are. This is what we are.
No. The other thing that I know that I need to mention about that painting, sorry to take it off of the actual meaning and the intent of the
Yeah.
painting and,
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff, but the another interesting facet is that you created that painting specifically to be an NFT, right?
Right.
A non-fungible token.
Right.
Right. So taking the technology, you know, from when was that toy made? Do you remember? You know the date on that toy?
I forgot. I researched it myself. Found it. There's a guy who demonstrates it on the internet. You can look it up easily. Find it. I forgot. In the early 50s.
But
A lot of those things
yeah,
were done in the 50s. You know.
yeah. But so taking technology from the 50s and putting it into modern technology of a non-fungible token,
Yeah.
which I think it'll probably eventually, I think you might not know this or be aware of it, but anybody who's tuning in, I think it'll ultimately be available on Maker's Place. You got a whole thing set up there, and some of your other kid stuff puppets are up there for sale. So if anybody wants to buy the digital tracker along with the original art, it will be available soon as an NFT. Space age, man.
You guys are in the space age. I'm still kind of like I'm in a sort of a space age, but it's my own personal space age. You know.
Space
But
age.
you know, we talked about this before. I think about non-fungible token. That's a whole new thing for me.
We did.
Brand new.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
We
and
talked about how it's you know, what gives it a value is the conversation.
right
You know.
in that whole concept of the rye stones from
Yep.
these gigantic stones. People would be interested, anybody watching, to look at RAI stones. Just look it up. Very intriguing and interesting in terms of valuing what's valued and how people value and how we think this thing is gold. I mean, kill and die, start wars over it, murder countless millions over it. It's really got no more value than this. It's only
Yeah.
the conversation that we all agree on that it has a value.
Yeah.
And that's intriguing. So this, to me, when you first react to it, I think sometimes, or people do, that's it's ridiculous. Well, no, it's just another way to people value things in their own way, in their own times, in their own generations, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and I know there's a lot of hesitancy with certain groups getting into NFTs and getting into cryptocurrency. But if you look back, people were worried about credit cards and putting credit cards into
Absolutely.
computers or using credit cards at stores, or
Yeah.
people were hesitant about using banks, and well, they might have had a point with
Well, look,
being
that
hesitant
little
about banks.
you pull that little piece of paper out of your wallet and hand it to somebody, and they give you food back. I mean, that little piece of paper is just a little piece of paper.
Yes. And somewhere someone else agreed that that piece of paper had a certain value so that they could take it and put it in their bank.
That's all it is. It's an agreement,
Yeah.
which makes society function. I mean, where would we be without it, right?
Right. All agreements.
I think the Knights Templar started, didn't they? Rather than carrying the gold across Europe, they were the first bankers, I think. You know, they wrote a little note to you, and you could get to their holds wherever it was and cash it in.
I did not know that. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
I think they're considered to be like the first global bankers. You know,
No doubt.
amongst
No
many
doubt.
other things.
Yes, we have some people, tuning in, saying they love the painting, saying hi, agreeing with what we're doing. So, hello to everyone.
Hello.
So, as we get moving, all right, Mr. Greg, do you want to reveal?
Well, here, let's put this one over here. Let me stand up. Get this out of the way. So I've been painting. I've been painting these puppets, toys that I like, the guns, and then dolls and puppets and different objects that I've collected over the years and that I had as a kid and enjoyed as a kid, loved as a kid. And this is one now that I've been painting, which, like I say, it's enigmatic to me because I'm not sure I can get it. Now, here's the actual object that I'm painting. It's this little guy. Now, this is
That's
something
fantastic.
I got in an antique store, I don't know, 40 years ago, a long time ago. And I've had it, and it's like his bloody eyes, that's his name, Bloody Eyes. That's what we're calling him. Is like, I said, what the hell is this? It's not, it can't be a kid's thing. I never saw it before, and it's just bizarre. This screaming little, but then you could take the little hat off, and it's hollow inside, like it's supposed to contain something. I have no idea what it was for, and there's a little sponge down inside of it, and there's no markings on it at all to tell you what it is, or copyright, or patent, or anything. But I decided to paint him. He's just so strange.
Yeah, man.
You know, it's like, what the hell is that? First, I thought, like, he looks like something from Winsor McKay's Little Nemo in Slumberland. Kind
Yeah.
of. He's a little character like that, sort of like thing,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Not that I say I can remember seeing it in Little Nemo, but that it reminds me of that. The ultimate genius, Mr. McKay. But here he is. So
Yes.
I've been working on this for the last week since I finished the gun. And
Yeah. Man.
I mean, what the hell do you say about it? I mean, well, we were talking about NFTs. That's what he is.
Yeah. He's
NFT.
also going to be an NFT. Okay.
Yeah, I
You're gonna
mean,
make him.
yeah, along with all the puppets and the guns and we've got a whole list of things that I'm going to keep doing, the toys and objects that I've collected, which are very, to me, they're very appealing. They're very. This one's particularly strange, but even in the context of the other ones, like where they're aging puppets and you get all that, the cracking of the old composition stuff and everything. And also, I've
Yeah.
got all these plaster figures that they call chalk figures that you won at carnivals back in the day.
Yeah. Yep.
They paint them really cheesily with airbrush. Everything's off. The cheek is sprayed up here, and lipstick is over here somewhere. And they're just they were never intended to be any kind of art. In a sense of art. But
Yeah.
I look at them that way. They are objects of art.
They
That
are.
thing that's
Well,
disdained.
you've discovered it uh, before the archaeologists. If somebody buries it, and then 2,000 years from now, it'll be priceless, right? That's kind of what you're doing. You're taking these objects that have
Disposable.
have no intrinsic value,
Right.
but elevating to the status of value. Like when
Again,
people paint portraits and things like that, it's to honor and to elevate and to
there you go.
uh,
Yes.
record a section of history. They're usually a significant person of some kind, and you're taking these carnival throwaways, really,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and elevating them to that status. And
It's a fun thing to do. It's sort of contrary to the whole idea of what's considered to be high art.
well,
You,
even
right?
yeah, I mean, to me, again, when I'm looking at it and analyzing it and thinking about it, even the fact that you are the one doing it raises it higher.
Why
You
is
know,
that?
well, not for nothing, you have a certain amount of significance in the
Certain
art
amount
world.
of longevity. Yeah.
Yeah, like, not just any Joe Schmo is painting the presidential portraits or whatever, and or the Pope's portrait or anything like that. So There would be a
Yeah.
difference if, you know, if I'm painting the chalk figure, or
Well,
Greg Hildebrandt is painting the chalk figure.
it's a way to show, in a way, the beauty, in a sense, of everyday objects that are overseen, that are looked over, in a way, that don't even people don't look at them as meaningful,
Yeah.
and yet I mean, the most mundane of things can be fantastic. A beat up old garbage, galvanized garbage can.
Yeah.
It's like what Edward Hopper in Reginald Marsh did back in the day, in terms of taking the gritty aspects of the city, which was never considered to be art. A down and out person in a hotel room sitting on the edge of a bed, with a pulled Venetian blind, that was never considered to be anything that you would put, artistically look at. And here
Well,
it is. The beauty
even the
of that.
stuff that, like, that Norman Rockwell was capturing, the everyday Americana.
Yeah, well, it was that idealized view, in his opinion, that view of America, and then you have, but Hopper does that other more gritty, and Marsh too, going into the lower depths, so to speak, in New York and in the Bowery and everything, and elevating all that to a high position,
Yeah.
because there's nothing. I think that, right, to us artists, nothing is ugly. Nothing is.
But you were definitely capturing something sinister.
You think it's sinister?
Yeah.
You see, it's kind of funny. I mean, I paint these things. Like, I started with the puppets. We call it the spider to the fly, because I was just knocked out by the texture and the lighting, and I don't see it as sinister. I just see it as very interesting. As interesting as anything. So, but and people, oh, that scares me, or that freaks me out, or oh my God, I got to turn it to the wall. Okay.
It's a lot of those dolls and things from that time unintentionally are creepy as hell.
Oh, I've got one that I'm looking forward to painting for sure. That's in that level. Yeah.
And you're able to capture that, very.
But it's all about
well.
light. It's all about texture, surface, lighting, value, rendering, shape, structure. To me, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
And of course, and again, like, I've always enjoyed three-dimensional objects, toys, and structures, and puppets, and everything. I made them myself. A lot of that stuff as a kid. So that I like that. I like that. I like trying to convey the sense of roundness and shine and quality to the thing. That's kind of like enjoyable to do that. Especially with these just smeared up stuff on a piece of foil. Somehow you smear that around, and you get that up here in a certain shape, in texturing, and you pull it off, and it's just like it's a great journey, voyage to do that.
Yeah.
Like a whole.
Well, somehow you smear it around and make it come out to look like that. That's not something that just anybody can do.
Well, right. Well, everybody does something that everybody can't do. You know what I mean? In a way, we all have our individual thing, but it's fun. It's incredible.
Sorry, I got a new kitten who's now crawling all over me here.
She. You don't even know what she is yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. We think it's a girl, but we're not sure.
She's very cute.
You
call her Moo?
Moo. Yeah, Moo.
That's because she's got the black and white cow look.
Yep, she looks like a little cow, so we're calling her Moo Moo, and then it went to Moo 2.
Can you get her onto the screen?
She just walked away. When I get her back over here, I'll bring her up and hold her up.
I've got one here. Sleeping.
Thank you, Dean.
See,
Oh yeah, yours is snoozing.
there's Clyde. He's snoozing away. He likes that spot right there underneath. It's underneath of the warm lights there. You know, he likes that spot.
So, you know, again, looking at that bloody eyes there, did anyone ever find that trinket until now, but you like it because of a certain aesthetic. But did anyone ever find it to be a beautiful object of treasure?
Yeah, like and where would you put it? You wouldn't put it in your
If
kitchen.
anybody out there knows what that thing is, please chime in and let us know. Take that hat off again, Greg, because we got more people in here now. You see the head pops off. It's got a little hole.
It's got a
I mean,
sponge down in
it
the
looks
bottom of it,
with the
and
sponge down there. Like I thought maybe it was a candle holder, but like put a
no,
candle on the top of it,
no,
but it
no,
doesn't look sturdy enough for that.
no. It's not a candle holder. I don't know what the hell
You
it
think
is or what it would have been for. It's like like terrifying. I mean, it's painful. It's very this screaming little kid. You know, it, it's just intriguing.
I didn't know what you were talking about.
There, she's listening to us talk.
Painful. I'm like, what is painful?
Ah! It's yeah, right. Who would have that? Like your and where
Yeah.
would it be? On a mantle? Would it be on a dresser? What the hell is?
And did somebody know the exact thing for it, or was it always confusing? Of like whoever owned it was like, what is this thing for?
Yeah, right, exactly.
No one ever knew. No one ever knew. Someone suggested maybe it was a toothpick holder. Maybe.
Could be. But
Maybe.
the whole concept of Little Nemo in Slumberland fits me with Windsor McKay, with his brain and what he drew, and sort of fits in Little Nemo land.
No, the mouth doesn't open all the way back to the other hole, does it? The mouth is closed
No.
off.
It's inside is like the eyes. It's like a cat. It's made out of porcelain, actually. And no, it's not. It's hollow. It's very hollow. And no, it's like it's a
no
reverse.
through
It's just it's a reverse of this. They bulge out inside. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yeah.
But it's look at the little collar on them and everything. I have no
And
idea.
it's real cloth, right? Is that real cloth?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. It's. Gene's asking me if I'm going to paint. Am I going to paint?
Oh.
Should I paint?
Okay. Yeah. Here is Moo.
Look at there she is.
You know.
Moo too.
Moo too.
Oh, wait, I want to see.
Wait, Gene's coming over. Look, hold her up. Look at her. Hold her up real close to the. Oh, look at over. There she is.
Oh, how cute. Come on, you can never have too many kitties. Love kitty shots. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So she's 6 weeks old, or he, whatever, 6 weeks.
Dude. But we talked about last week too about the search for the magnum opus, the great work, the ultimate thing, which is always like I think kind of like in the back of our heads as an artist, right? You're looking to do. I don't know if you feel that way, but it's always that thing that's beyond your reach, beyond the horizon somewhere that you're after.
Yes. Yeah. And one of the things we talked about last week with that, and you made a very good point of not trying to set it as something in the future to be done, but always trying to make it the thing that you're on now.
That's the thing where I know I've been through it many times and I still go through it in my mind. Is this the greatest thing? Should I be doing something beyond this, greater than this? And then finally you say, well, no, this is it. What I'm doing right now, this is it right now. I mean, what if I died, tomorrow? This was going to be the last thing I'll ever have done. So, you kind of like take that on and treat it that way. In that maybe it's an illusion that there's no such thing as the magnum opus, the great work. Maybe that's not even your job as the artist to ever consider that something that you were. Would you even want to arrive at it consciously? This is it. This is the greatest thing I can possibly do. Then what?
You know, that's an interesting thing, um, which is a couple different ways to look at it. And you know, Bernie Wrightson,
Oh
right?
God, yeah, genius, fantastic.
And I
He just
think,
died, didn't he? I think recently, just a short time ago. I think he did. Tragically
yeah,
sad.
he definitely passed away, but it's been a little while now,
His
you know.
Frankenstein. Oh my God.
But that Frankenstein is he considered that his great work,
Well,
and then afterwards, if I'm not mistaken, he kind of felt let down by everything. Now, that could be just total hearsay that I'm repeating.
you mean he was let down by his own what he achieved, or
Not no, like it was like, you know, he always wanted to work on Frankenstein. That was like a dream project. He did it and achieved such greatness with it that everything that kind of came after was, yeah,
it's the Orson Welles Citizen Kane problem, right? I mean, he
yeah,
goes to Hollywood. The first film he makes is considered to be one of the top 10 films of all time, and sometimes on the list of number one greatest film of all time. And not after that, there was nothing that ever, you know,
yeah.
forever in this, you know.
So,
That's the thing.
Wendy Muse is chiming in to think that maybe the little guy was a doll head planter of some kind. She said they have planters of all sizes. So maybe the wet sponge, you'd put a little water on it, and then it would help like a little tiny.
But why the hat to cover that up? You know,
Oh, they have it covered up.
you see, it's flat
I
top.
don't know, man. I don't know.
You could see it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a thing to contain little bugs or something. You could put the lid on it, and the fly buzz around inside.
You know, I thought maybe you put some like tobacco or something in it, but the sponge doesn't make any sense with that.
No, that doesn't.
Uh,
And why
uh,
would a grown up have that for a tobacco container? Let's say we're mistakenly
People
twisted
have weird
something.
things, man. People have weird things. Uh, you know, but you know, going back to that the magnum opus and whether you want to reach it now, but then you also have like, okay, like you know, the musical artist Frank Zappa,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Who, you know, when he died of cancer, and you know that guy was constantly churning out work, always workaholic, always constantly just, and then when he was dying, you know, it's like, you know, he set up like three different things that he considered his masterworks,
Ah,
you know, so a reflection on his own body of
wow.
work.
That's interesting.
um you
Could
know,
you do that with
and
anything that you've created? Consider this is your masterwork? I could. I don't think just off the top of my head that I could ever
I don't
point.
I don't consider anything I've done to be any good.
Well, yeah, that's always the problem.
You
The whole title of
know?
the show is trying to get it right. I mean, it's like that's how
Yeah,
you're always
so
feeling. It's always that.
you know,
But that's just part of the
I mean,
process. That's just
yeah,
part of the process.
if I land on something, I'll let you know.
Yeah, but your work is
For
great.
sure.
You've done so much beautiful work, man. It's like there's no two ways about it. In that. But that's I think that's a necessary kind of like feeling to have that you're never satisfied. To a
Yeah,
degree you are, because I mean that keeps you from going over the deep end or quitting, because you got to have some
yeah,
degree of acceptance and satisfaction what you pulled off. But it never is 100%. Never has been with me ever. I can
you
look
know,
back at certain things that I've done and say, yeah, in my mind, I would consider that. Orson Welles was asked that, what would you hold up at heaven's gate? He said, I'll hold this up at heaven's gate. That's the way he put it to get into heaven. It was Chimes at Midnight. It has nothing to do with Cain. It was about a Shakespeare film that he did. I think in Falstaff.
hmm,
And I've only seen bits and pieces of it. I've never seen the whole thing. But that's what he said. I remember, I think it was on Dick Cavett show back when Cavett was on TV. Fantastic interviews that he used to do. And Wells said he would hold that up at Heaven's Gate. I don't know if I'd have any one thing like that at all that I ever did that I could say that over. You know?
Yeah, that's
It's like, I hope not. I don't want to be able to look at my past and say that that thing that I did 50 years ago was was it. Even though there are times when you look at something that you did maybe as a kid, and you say, "Oh, well, that's better than what I'm doing now."
yeah, there's certain magic to it, or whatever, of like, oh man, the creativity was
Yeah,
much better back then. I
yeah.
kind of lost the creative edge
You weren't thinking too much. You just kind of like jumped in and just.
going at it. Yeah. Um, some person, that's actually their name. They call themselves some person, saying that hole in the head might be hollowed out so that they could bake it in the kiln without the thing cracking.
Really?
Maybe.
Okay. But what is
Yeah,
it?
but what is it other than just a porcelain doll with bleeding eyeballs?
It's and screaming. It's
Yeah.
clearly not. He's not happy. But I don't know. It's like, oh, sometimes it's fun.
It's all good, man. But yeah, it's you're doing
Should I paint?
again.
Should I do any painting on this thing?
Hey, if you want to do it,
I
I'm
don't know.
sure
It's up to you. I
everybody.
mean, what's more interesting?
You guys want to see Greg paint or what? Everybody, let us know, chime in, what you want. But again, I think that these puppets that you're doing are the, with
Or
all
what?
due respect to your older stuff,
Whoops, wait a minute.
the
My paint's
puppets
falling.
are the best stuff you're doing.
Let me get my container. I just fell. This is like clunking around here. This is there's the paint for the head, for the face, and for the backlight blue and everything. It's intriguing though. To me, I still keep going over this. I know I probably said it more than once. In these days of modern times, we're still squooshing around with a stick with hair glued on the end of it. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of intriguing. But of course, you do more than that. You understand computer stuff. I don't know anything about that.
Well, you're fine.
No, that's not
You're
about
fine.
being not fine or not fine. I just don't. I think your ability is broader than that. I mean, you understand both paint and the electric world.
Well, with the digital stuff just brings with it an ease of use. Once you get the hang of of what you're doing, it speeds up a lot of the process, right?
Yeah.
The computer will crunch a lot of the color blending and all of that stuff for you, right? And even more advanced than I am now, a lot of the people use it with the 3D modeling of the figures that they incorporate into it, and different lighting rigs and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. And the algorithms and the number crunching of the computer does a lot of the heavy lifting.
Here's what I'm curious about, Keith. Maybe you can answer this. Like I say, I'm totally ignorant about computers and how it's achieved. But in a computer, how do you determine your light source? Because a low warm light, and you have to determine the degree of warmth on your computer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you determine the back blue light, the back edge light. Do you know, or does the computer know, when these two colors merge in the shadow region, what happens there? Do you have to fill that color in, or does the computer know how to do those blends like that?
A lot of times the computer will do the blend. However, the blend of, again, in past conversations, we talked about going from the oranges into the magentas
Right.
and the magentas into the purples to keep
Right.
it from going gray and muddy.
Yep.
Unless you add, if you just do the first color and the second color, it's going to blend those two colors.
I see.
Now
So
you'll
it'll
have
go to the same mud that paint would do.
Yes.
So you have to know to put that.
It'll be perfectly smooth,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah. No, yeah.
it won't necessarily have that light. Now, but
Yeah.
you can put it in there. You could put it in there and you could tweak it to how much of a degree it's going to add in and all of that stuff. And then also, where ease of use comes in, it's like, oh, well, that's not bright enough. You just go into your brightness contrast settings and you goose it up a little bit, and boom, rather than having to apply a whole new layer of paint and a new layer of color to it.
Well, that's interesting.
Yes.
And then now in film, then all that stuff is now compounded by movement, right?
Yes.
Which, like I've said many times over, still boggles my mind. Like, maybe one of these days I'll do some research on it just to see how it's done. You know?
Yes. It's one of those things where, like, with the process of the tablet, right? Like, I have what's called a Wacom tablet, and you hold basically a stylus pen in your hand and you draw as if you normally would draw.
Yeah.
You know? So all of that movement and everything is the exact same. There are just certain aspects of it where the computer does the work for you. You know?
Mm-hmm. The same sometimes that the brush does the work for you. You can let the brush do the work too.
Yes.
Right? Shit happens.
But you have to be able to know what that brush does.
Yeah.
And the big thing is that when you put a paint stroke across the canvas, right?
Yeah.
And it's not what you want, there's no undo key. Right?
No, there's not.
Whereas in the computer, you hit, Command Z, and that paint stroke vanishes in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Wow. Does stuff ever disappear on you? Like when you're working on it, does it just for some glitch all of a sudden happen and the work you were doing just disappear?
Yes.
I mean, that used to happen. I remember when Jane started her publishing company with her brother, and they were the first to start to use computers in regards to publishing. And I know there will be people, I'd hear them in the office, because I had my studio in the office in the back room, and I'd hear somebody scream out, "God damn it!" And you go up, the whole thing disappeared. They've been working on it for the day. It seems, it's not, I know it's not funny, but it was like, that's at least one thing that doesn't happen here. If you screw up and like the whole thing doesn't go away.
It doesn't vanish. And I mean, that's what, they, over the years, and, when people just start doing it, it's like, you got to get used to saving a lot, save, so that if the program just all of a sudden decides it wants to quit on you, or your computer decides it wants to freeze, or a power failure or whatever, you don't lose all your work.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Cohen says, when you're working on computers, you got to have Control S on the hair trigger. That's the keystrokes for save. Absolutely. Always hit and save. But a couple of years back, I was having some computer problems, and it would all of a sudden, the whole thing would just shut off on me, and I'd lose my work.
Oh boy.
So
yeah,
it's to make the investment.
I'm working on this like for a whole day, and it just disappears on me. I quit. That's it. It's over. I'm done. I'm out of here. This is it for me.
But when I look at that painting, though,
Yeah.
and when I've looked at the others, large scale and in person, there's something about them that gives you the feeling that it might just be able to disappear on you. You know, something's going on. Oh, it's anybody that's chiming in. Last week I kept saying, oh, you got to look at Greg's kid stuff work. You got to look at Greg's kid stuff work. In the notes of this video, I've included a link so that you don't have to go searching around for it. You can just find that link and see all of Greg's kid stuff series. So yeah, if you want to see it, go check it out.
Of course, we all know that the kid stuff is a sort of a commentary in itself, right? That's kid stuff.
Yeah, that's and again, I mean, that one of the brilliant things of this series is that, and again, you elevating these chalk figures, these puppets, marionettes, ray guns, whatever, you're taking a swipe at, at the establishment of the gallery world,
Yeah,
or anyone really that dismissed,
yeah,
comic books or fantasy art and all that stuff as being, kid stuff in the past.
yeah. Again, I mean, I know I'm probably repeating myself, but I'll never forget the time that Tim and I spent my brother and I spent a lot of time in the library because there was, again, no internet. And we were always in the library looking for information, and I remember coming, and we were totally into animation and Disney, all of them, Warner Brothers, Max Fleischer, all of it, Popeye and all that stuff, and came upon an article in some art magazine where there was an article on Disney and animation. This would be early on. This would be like Pinocchio, Bambi, Fantasia, with a big headline that said, "It's nice, Mr. Disney, but is it art?" And I remember being in the library as a little kid, freaking out, screaming, "You're damn right it is!" But that was the attitude. That's not art. Even something on that level of Fantasia or Pinocchio, that's not art.
Yeah. That still persists. I had a guy, I was looking at something with, maybe it might have been a Frazetta book, and he looks at it and he's like, "Oh, that is so Mickey Mouse."
Mickey Mouse, yeah, that was the word. That was the put down word. Oh, what are you trying to?
Yeah, oh, that's so Mickey Mouse, and he's like, I look at it and I instantly know the psychology behind it. He's like, it's child stuff. I'm like, man, you're crazy. You're crazy.
Well, again, like I say, that world, I can remember when we were Tim and I were doing the calendars of the Lord of the Rings for Valentine in the 70s, 1976, 77, and 78. I was at a art studio in the city this studio Tim and I always stop at. We had friends who owned it. They were fantastic people. Bernie and Maddie Carlin, they were just some of the greatest people in that city. And you could always depend on them for a job when you were hard up, to give them a call and they'd say, "Come on in." And they'd have a job for you ready. And I remember being in there once, stopping there with some of the paintings from the first calendar, 1976 calendar. And we would always stop in and show them to Bernie. And he happened to have the then president of the Society of Illustrators was in the office, because Bernie was a member of the Society of Illustrators. He was a great cartoonist himself. And this guy's looking disdainfully at the painting that Tim and I had, looking down his nose at it. And he said, "Who looks like, what's that guy's name? Franzetti?" He didn't even know Frazetta's name. And there was a strange, weird, screwed up, effed up mentality that even illustrators looked at fantasy art as sub arts. I could never figure it out. I still can't figure it out. We've talked about this before. You know, it's just totally insane to me where that mentality would come from and why it's there. Again, kid stuff. They look. I think they saw it as juvenile or something, right? Mickey Mouse, like you said.
Yeah.
But that was always the put down too of people into the UPA look. You know, the UPA of Mr. Magoo, you know, was all 2D. Everything moved nothing moved in dimension towards you. There was no roundness to anything. It was all flat with banana fingers, you know?
Yeah.
No mouth movements. And the artist that I knew early on at Jam Handy's in Detroit, the industrial film producer in the animation department, some of the guys there would be more into the modernist thing, the UPA look and all that. And I'd be drawing my 3D type characters, you know, three-dimensional and working out stuff. And they said, what are you doing? Making a Mickey Mouse? That was always the ultimate put down, you know? It's a Mickey Mouse. And I mean, I could never figure, I still can't figure it. I don't know what their problem is.
It's kind of interesting that, you know, Mickey Mouse being the put down, but Mickey Mouse is responsible for like one of the top 4 corporations in the globe.
Yeah.
So I hope my magnum opus is something that becomes a put down in vernacular and yet becomes so powerful that you become a global enterprise.
Yeah. It's intriguing. You know, they demeaned Norman Rockwell, right? Then they politicize everything too. Everybody politicizes everything, right? Everything's turned into fucking politics. Excuse my English. Is Rockwell? If you liked Norman Rockwell back in the day, you know, in the 50s, you were conservative, you were reactionary, you were out of it, you weren't hip. But if you liked Picasso or somebody, you were hip, you were in, you're progressive, you know, you're liberal mind, you know, which was disastrous. That binary thinking. It's this way or that way. There's nothing in between. Again, we're in that world, I think, stronger than ever. That kind of like, right? Well, there's only 2 ways.
Well, even if it's not stronger than ever, this is a conversation I've been having in my own head lately about that stuff. You know, I've heard it talked about with everything. This is the worst it's ever been. It's the worst I don't know. I don't know that it is.
No, it's not.
But what I think that we just have access to the information far more readily.
Yes.
It's never turned off. It's always on, and I think that's the issue.
Not only that, too, when we fall into this trap of thinking, oh, these are the worst of times. Worst of times? Go back 500 years. Go back 200 years. Go back 100 years. You call this the worst of times? For who? You know, it's like the massacres and the exterminations, the enslavement, the torture, the maiming, the hideousness. These aren't the worst of times. They're not.
No.
Look, people don't know history. They don't read history.
Yeah.
I mean, I would suggest along those lines. I don't know whether we should we do this on this show. One book to read to check out the history of this country is American Holocaust. I challenge anybody and everybody to go read it.
American,
probably 20-something years old. David E. Stannard, I think was the name. American Holocaust. Then come back and we'll talk. Basically.
Right.
But to talk this the worst of times, no, it's not.
American, I'll look it up, man. I'll read it.
It is unbelievable. It's overwhelming. Overwhelming. It's, you know. Anyway, look. So there. These are just raw colors right out of the tube, or all earth colors.
Straight out of the tube, no mixing.
That's raw sienna, burnt sienna, burnt umber, right? You know, out of the tube.
So are you just fading them into the black
Yeah, using the black
with
as
like dry brushing?
yeah, wash it on. Dry brush or wash it on. Like you burnt the burnt umber washed on over that purple in background. It's that deep dioxazine purple. Only looks black, but it's still got a color to it that you can't see there over the screen. It's black, but it isn't black. It's deeper than that in a sense. And you sort of wash on the burnt umber over that, and that forms a shadow color of the burnt umber. See what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
You use that as, especially in these colors up here. There's a little bit of that in here and here, in here of this showing through still, you know. But I like to paint on the black for these things. I started painting on black for the Trans-Siberian Orchestra some years ago, and it just hit me like this works well for this kind of thing, these extreme lighting situations.
Yes.
You certainly wouldn't, if you were painting a sunlit day, you know, on a bright sunny day out in nature, you wouldn't want to start it on black per se. Maybe you might, I don't know, but I'm saying I wouldn't, you know. But on these kinds of subjects, black is the foundation, you know, and then everything comes out of that. So you want to like, sort of like,
Yeah.
like in Apocalypse Now with Marlon Brando coming in out of the shadows. Remember in the opening?
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of thing. That fantastic, the way that he handled that, Coppola handled it, only because Brando was so overweight when he showed up that he couldn't show his body, so he had to figure out a way to show Colonel Kurtz, and he has him coming in and out of the shadows. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Super effective. Anyway, that's in my mind, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
As you work on a thing like this, all that shit's running around in your head. You know, and it's sort of, I guess, coming out somehow.
Yeah.
Yes. The horror. Because I wanted to write that on the back. I saw the big letters. I'm not going to do it, but the feeling, the horror.
Horror.
The horror.
It would work. It would work.
Yeah, right?
Maybe that's a portrait of Francis Ford Coppola seeing Marlon Brando walk onto the set in a very unexpected shape.
I met Mr. Brando when he was in that shape. That's a whole other story.
Yes.
Oh, it's a great scene. It's like it's out of a movie in itself. You know?
Yes, I am familiar with that story, and if you ever want to share it, it had to be such a surreal moment.
It's like you go into your head and you say, did that really happen? Or was it some sort of a dream or something I had? Because it was with Marlon Brando, Michael Jackson, and me looking at my paintings. That's now, if nobody, I've talked about this story before. If nobody's heard about it, maybe next week or something we can talk about it in detail. Finding yourself in circumstances that you never expected to find yourself in, and how you handle it, you know, and what's going through your head, and what are you.
It absolutely sounds like a dream. Like when you're like, hey, I have this story to tell you. It's about me, Michael Jackson, and Marlon Brando, and we're all looking at my paintings.
Over 150 of my paintings, which I don't want to give this away. The conclusion of the little episode is very, very much like a movie. I mean, it's almost like, you know, you scripted this whole damn thing, you know?
All right. Yeah, you got to tell the story next week.
David E. Stannard, American Holocaust. That's number one. I got a couple other ones for you, too, after that.
Okay. All right, cool. So I got to find American Holocaust. Hopefully I can find it and have it
Yeah,
read.
you can look it up. It's there. It's overwhelming. You can't. It's overwhelming.
All right, Mr. Hildebrandt, we're at 5 o'clock, sir.
The horror. The horror.
The horror. So another hour of trying to get it right has.
Yeah, I don't know. You know, it's like, but that's what it's. As long as you stay on that path, that's all that counts. Don't quit. Any artist that's out there, young, you're always going to go through this shit about this crap. It's no good. Look at that person. You know, you always look at other people's work. I still do, and I see it, and I say, oh my God, that's incredible. Holy God, I'm back to the drawing board. Yeah, that's always going to be there, and it should be there. You know, you always look at, and you take that thing that's intimidating to you, that levels you, that you think you'll never make it to, and you turn it into excitement to get back to the drawing board or get back to the easel and keep at it, and just totally accept the fact that that's what the process is about. That's exactly part of the process, and it should be that way. And the more, and when you're struggling, that means you're in the white space. You're in the unknown territory, and that's where you should be, because you're an explorer. God damn it! So let it be written. So let it be done.
Pardon me. Pardon me. Oh, so before we sign off, we have to mention again. We've been talking about this last couple of weeks. We still have copies of the Marvel art of the brothers Hildebrandt that came out by IDW published that, right?
Yes, IDW. Fantastic book.
And you can get your copy signed by Greg or with a remarked sketch by Greg.
Something like that.
On spiderwebart.com. So we got them back in stock recently. We still have a few of them left. They are selling again very well.
So nice book, beautifully done, filled with.
If you want your copy, go there and pick it up.
There it is.
And is that all? That's everything up till.
Geez, up till
Thor cover, right?
Yeah, up to a Thor cover.
So.
Yeah, the new take on Thor. I don't know what the hell date that was. 2019, probably.
Yes.
And everything that my brother and I did, and then what I had been doing for Marvel, you know, till it went to press.
Yeah. Very cool. So pick up your copy at spiderwebart.com. And as always, if you're liking what we're doing, like and subscribe the video, share it around with your friends. Also, just to mention, we are, if you have any comments, constructive criticisms, suggestions, ideas, whatever that you'd like to communicate to us, to me or to Greg or to Gene, we've set up a new email address specifically for this show. It's the initials of the show, GH.TTGIR, trying to get it right, at gmail.com. So again, that's in the email and stuff like that we send out, and we'll put it again in the notes of this. But so if anybody wants to communicate with us when we're not doing it live, give that email address a shot. So we're just trying to funnel all the communication into one channel, as opposed to all the different Facebook pages, the YouTube, and this and that. So again, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We definitely appreciate you coming by. We definitely appreciate all the chatting and everything going on. And Greg, as always, man, on behalf of me and everybody watching these videos, we truly appreciate you, sir.
Thank you, Keith. Right? It's great talking with you. Always is great
talking with you every week. Always a good time, man. And
thanks for watching, everybody.
Later. All right, catch you later, Greg.
Yeah,
bye.
Easy, man. I gotta get Gene to turn this off now because I'm computer illiterate.
Oh, I heard her on the phone over there.
She's on.
I can hang out with you till she comes over.
Jane? Huh? Let me put my paint away in my airtight container here.
Greg, in the middle of your screen, there should be in the bottom middle, the button to stop it from going live. If you want to click on that.
But I have no idea. I don't see anything there. It says, oh, this little chromium switch. You don't know. Fire Sign Theater is ahead of your time, behind your time, or whatever the hell it was. You ever look up Fire Sign Theater, man? These guys were hysterically, fantastically, surreally insane. They did these discs that were like a derivative of so-called Fireside Theater old-time radio, only they're freaking. You talk about Frank Zappa in spades. I mean, they're like completely hysterically genius. You know, they're wild. Anyway, Jane, we have to click the switch to turn us off.
You want me to turn you off?
Well, unless you want to keep going here.
Okay, no, that's okay. I'll turn you off.
Bye, folks.
Just as soon
Bye.
There.
as soon as I can
There,
figure out
sweetie.
why this freaking thing doesn't work. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that? Goodbye.
Bye, Gene.